The S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, that's what we're covering here on the day. And we're going to go into what's happening over the next week with what's happening with CPI, PPI, and next week data pool. Now, this is going to have very large implications. Now, there was some pretty big news Friday morning that kind of fueled the burst to the upside. And then we had a little bit of sell-off and a lot of profit taking to end the week. So that's what we're going to be covering here today. So when we go into what happened, now we can see we pushed an all-time highs here on Nasdaq on the 4-hour chart. You can see early on in the day, the 15-minute, we're pushing nice. 8:30, we open up, push into literally highs 1844, give or take. Really nice push. We end up developing an order block up here, pushing back down, sellers step in pretty aggressively almost into the end of the day perfectly, right? You go into ES, S&P futures, it's the same story, except you were just, even at higher levels. The S&P was just making higher highs nonstop, almost pushing into 5,200 before you rejected and pushed back down. Now, at the end of the day, you can also see they were kind of establishing these higher lows here, but that's kind of where we end the day at, right? We end the day at some pretty massive key levels we mentioned. Again, 5123, your previous all-time high from February 23rd. So again, major level there that we're sitting at. If we lose that level, you expect, you have to, 5088, possibly lower down to 5066, etc. Okay. Now those are the big levels where we're at. Now I'm not saying we're going to sell off Monday morning or anything like that, but we'll go into that here in a second. So we're looking there. On the contrary to that, you go to something like IWM and we look at some of the DXY and things like that. IWM, you sold off, you were damn near 210, 211, really breaking out, pushing up here, giving you, a viewpoint here. Go to the weekly chart. IWM broke out of a level that you've been in this box for 2 years. You're finally breaking out. Now, where you get confirmation of a breakout here is getting above, 212. You tried to push there. We couldn't get there. You can see a little bit of an order block there as well. So those are concerns that you're having out of the gate here going into Friday, going into Monday of this coming week. Those are things that I have to be paying attention to, right? And also, too, if you're interested in where these indicators come from, as you can see here, the link for that's down below. It's our Lux Algo partnership. Use our link down below. You get our custom indicator as well, which is what we use for day trading and scalping, our volume down here. And then you also get 20% off. So yeah, the link is down below. And I also want to highlight that our newsletter is dropping tomorrow, right? We have no Discord spots, nothing like that right now, but this is free. 100% for you guys. So if you use the link down below, you can sign up right now. Every week it goes out Sunday around 10:30 a.m. Central. And you can see our levels on NQ, expectations when we get there, rejection points, highs and lows where we're going to be retesting into, Nasdaq, and a few stocks that we're liking on the week as well. Usually have a little bit of education at the end of the video as well if we have an educational video that drops. But again, all the things that we're looking at, things to be looking at, things to be watching, and everything that's coming up for the week. So again, that link is down below if you're interested, absolutely free. So that's kind of where we're at here. IWM, failed breakout. ES, Nasdaq rejecting end of the week. And then to finish things up too, DXY, the dollar, definitely seeing some strong selling to end the day as well. Okay, so we see the dollar pulling back pretty aggressively, as you can see here on the daily chart, really pulling back, coming back down into this little bit of a demand down here, as you can see there. And then you go into the US 30-year yield, and this is where things get interesting. Like yields are pulling back as well, 4.2. Now, this leads us to the second part of the video here, right? So we have an idea of what's happening with the charts, futures, etc. But I want to talk about the underlying things that have kind of taken place. Now, number one, we saw unemployment numbers from Friday, okay? So if we go to yesterday, we go really quick here to unemployment right here, unemployment rate, 3.9% versus 3.7% expected. This was kind of good news in a few ways, okay? So now the first way is that you're back at your highest unemployment that you've had, basically October 2023, but this goes all the way back to 2021, 2022, right? Like 2021 actually, right? It's the last time you had 3.9% unemployment rate. The Fed has openly said that they want to get unemployment higher. They need it to go higher to constitute cutting rates. They need to see some weakening in the economy. And so, yes. So viewpoints there, right? Instantly you see upside on the market. Instantly you see buyers stepping off that news. Why? Because now it's I think it's fully pricing in a cut on June, and then May's likelihood is going up as well. That's important there. Now, the second part to this, before you get too crazy, is you have to be paying attention to what happens, with CPI and PPI. Okay. That's a very, very, very important metric to be looking at. We need to go for next week, not this week. So this coming week, we have core CPI, again, Tuesday. And then Wednesday, we should have, or is it Thursday? Thursday, we have PPI. That's going to be big. And then inflation expectations based on that as well. So again, going into this week, we have more data that's coming in, and it's going to fuel the fire of what's happening here, right? And I think it's important that data needs to come in at expectations or at guidance. It doesn't need to come in higher again. If it comes in higher again, there could be some issues with the idea of raising or cutting rates coming up soon. But also, too, when we go into some of the data here, this is Edgeful. The link is down below if you want to check them out. We go into what's happening here with green and red days. You know, Mondays have been 71% of the past 52 Mondays, past year, 71% of them have been green. You have a 70% chance of being green. Okay. These are just some of the statistics that we're looking at here. But what I will say, though, that's the concerning part here is your volume. And this is how you're probably not going to get the greatest action. Is we look at what's happening here with, SPY, and your volumes are usually trash on Mondays. But on top of that, you have CPI the day after. So you have to figure that volume will be lackluster, will be less than interesting to say the least. So Monday, again, I'm not expecting any big signs. Maybe get some quick action, but ultimately CPI and PPI will dictate the course of the week, in my opinion, like they did in previous weeks, right? So again, that's what's really important there. And again, we'll have all this highlighted on the newsletter as well, so you can see the date and time these are all released. So make sure you check it out. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to leave you with, though, before we go into equities and stocks I'm liking, is just the yield here. In my opinion, this is a clear bear flag that's forming out here on the 30-year yield. And markets, bond markets specifically, TLT, things like that, if you're interested, are pricing in cuts very soon. You're pricing in cuts very, very soon. That's just a fact of the matter. And those are things that you have to be anticipating right now. So, again, what have I said? Below 4% here on the US 30-year yield, I believe it's one of the most bullish cases on the market. If you look back where markets have dipped, where markets have bottomed out, it's been, go back to 2022, November, October, when you broke below 4% here. That's when SPY bottomed out. I don't have to, you can just go look at the data for yourself, right? Back here, October, November, 2022, you bottom out, right? It was a bumpy ride until basically 2023 started, but it is what it is. QQQ, pretty similar action here as well. November, you bottomed out right there too, double bottom, the rest is history. So again, I'm just saying the proof is there as well. So I do anticipate that to be a pretty strong look, but let's get into equities. Okay, so we're going to jump right into equities. If you have questions, make sure you comment down below if you have anything, but we're going to jump right into it. First of all, let me bring up the 200 SMA on the daily, so we have that there as well. You have a few names that are below those levels. So again, Apple coming into some of the major levels we have mentioned here from Lux Algo. A lot of support down here. I'm not interested. Apple to get bullish, you have to get back above 184. Until then, high risk, low reward. You have some gap fills, but yeah, they're just not innovating. They're getting punished for it. No trade list for me. Maybe to the downside if the market gets weak. Google, same thing here. I'm waiting for Google to get below the 200 SMA. Honestly, below the 200 SMA, this thing could start dropping towards 126, maybe even like 129. But again, they're getting punished for not innovating. Really poor, execution with AI again, but coming right back down to a Lux Algo level. But yeah, not interested. NVIDIA, this is the one probably everyone's curious about. It has a lot of questions. So NVIDIA to end the week here, pretty terrible into the week. However, the level you're watching right here is like 177, or 877, 876. You want to hold that level. So if we can get back above that, I think you have upside back into again, 900, most likely 895. If you lose this level, you're anticipating the gap fill into 860, and then you're targeting down into 840. So what you'd be looking for is a break, retest, continuation, and then back down there as well. That's what I'd be looking for. I mean, you're still pretty illiquid down there as well, but I don't think you're going to see massive selling on NVIDIA. I also think this had to do with a lot of anticipation of what's coming with a stock split. But again, that's how I view them. I made a TikTok on that and a reel and a short here, so you have my opinion on that as well. AMD, still really strong. Again, above 211, you're looking for a push into highs. You had a really nice breakout. I had this mentioned on Twitter as well. So if you guys don't follow on Twitter and you're not like in Discord or something, I don't know what to tell you. But I had all this posted on Twitter for you guys. And I try to keep you guys as posted as possible. Okay. So like AMD, March 7th, I talked about the break above 211, continuation into 220. You went to 226, so better than I even expected. So again, below this, you're looking for a 200 test. If you get below 200, you could look for a gap fill to 193 locally, and then you're looking for down into the support near 184, 185, give or take down here as well. So you are illiquid at the downside, definitely watching out, but I have to wait for you to break below 199. Not interested before that. Netflix, pretty interesting name here as well. Above 593, you're bullish. I continue to say that, but you need to get above 605 right here. That's the biggest thing now. So you want to see a break, retest amount. Above 605, you push into 615. Again, we have mentioned that a lot here on the channel. You had that push on Friday, which was nice, and then you got back below levels. So above 605, pushing back into that level, and then back into local highs as well. Meta pulling back at the end of the day here. As long as you're above 504, I still think you're really bullish. So just holding 504 is all you really need to do. Below 503, I think you could push back down into 494. That's a major level there. So really simple two-way trade here. Above this, you're looking to push back into highs. And then below that level as well, you can trade it either way. Below, boom, boom, just like that. Same trade, go either way. Meta's been a really good mover. Definitely like how it's moving, and it's been pretty good to me. Robinhood, long-term name here. I keep mentioning 2025 calls. You're holding 16.5. You're above 17. You're sitting at $17. I want to see us get above 20 to get some real continuation. I like what they're doing. They're killing it. It's a long-term name for me. Coinbase, we hit our target of 270, but Bitcoin for me is still really bullish, as you can see here. Over the weekend, holding up, didn't even react to that sell-off we had on SPY and Qs, which is another reason why I'm not too concerned about the sell-off, because Bitcoin followed the first one, didn't follow the second one. So another big sign of risk on there as well. So Coinbase, I'm looking for this thing to start breaking above 270 now. I closed my trade at 270, but above 270, I mean, we're really talking into 294, 300, and then possibly into 350. And that could come very quick. MicroStrategy, like I told you guys, MicroStrategy, we called it at $700, $800. You're at $1,500, $1,400. You're moving crazy, right? This is a bubble. It's this, it's that. Look, the Coinbase and MicroStrategy are the only real stocks that follow Bitcoin. Mara, Riot, they're high risk, guys. So do what you want. But that's my personal opinion there. Those are my favorite names now. I'm not going to go to Tesla. It's very weak. A lot of these other names are weak as well. Amazon above 175.3, 0.4. I'm still bullish. So yeah, above 0.4. I'm looking for 177. But again, you're just kind of ranging here right now. Again, Bitcoin still bullish. All those names as well. I like how the market's moving. I'm not, deterred by this. My last name I mentioned is going to be Target. I like it around 168. I'm really looking for Target though to mount this level. I want to be very clear. The second Target mounts this level, it's a long again. I told you guys down here at 150.4 it was a long. You had earnings, and I think it's a long again. If you get above 174.5, the 200 SMA, it's a very easy long, people. My personal opinion, do what you want with it. But for me, it's a very, very easy long at that point. I'm being patient, though, not rushing anything. If you have questions, comment down below. I'll see you guys Monday. Have a good one, traders.